G'day guys, welcome to another video. I'm standing outside the Hotel Fitzroy. It's had a few names over the years, this establishment here on Brunswick Street in Fitzroy. It was built in 1854 and it was here in 1883 that a group of local businessmen and some local footballers had a massive meeting behind the four walls here to form the Fitzroy Football Club, who joined the Victorian Football Association in 1883. Okay, so that meeting in 1883 at the Brunswick Hotel, that's what it was formerly known as. It was originally called the Brunswick Hotel. I can only imagine what it would have been like trying to put together a new football team to join the Victorian Football Association. And one of the biggest talking points you would assume would be where the newly founded Fitzroy Football Club were going to actually play their games. I mean, it was one thing to have a team, but you actually need somewhere to host your games. There were a few options, but the best option was to stay here in Fitzroy itself. And I'm in the beautiful Edinburgh Gardens here in North Fitzroy, and nestled amongst the gardens here is the Brunswick Street Oval. Now in 1883, this was already an established sporting facility run by the Fitzroy Cricket Club, who had been here for a period of time, and they pretty much had total control of this ground. And it was here though that it was agreed upon that the newly formed Fitzroy Football Club would play all their home games, and this would be their training hub. And this, for the next 82 years, from 1884 right the way through to 1966, this, the Brunswick Street Oval, was the home of the Fitzroy Football Club. Now in this video, guys, I'm just going to try to the best of my ability, because this joint has changed. And this ground closed as a facility to host VFL games back in 1966, well before I was born. So to try and imagine what it was like to actually come here, for me, is kind of impossible, other than looking back at old photos. So I'm going to try and line up some old photos with what it looks like now, but to come here and just experience kind of what it would have been like for Fitzroy and opposition clubs to come to this ground, is kind of pretty special. So let's go on a little bit of a journey with me in this video, the Brunswick Street Oval here in North Fitzroy. All right, just a bit of a snapshot on how much football Well, top-tier football was played on this ground between 1883 and 1966 when it was closed. In really sort of disappointing circumstances, really. The ground was, it was really battling, needed repairs. The Fitzroy Football Club were having continual problems with the cricket club and also the council. And they ended up going to Princes Park, and they became quite nomadic for the next 30 years after 1966 Fitzroy. But back when they first started in 1883, they were actually known as the Maroons, then the Gorillas, and then they settled on the Lions. But from 1883 in the VFA to 1996, they played 132 games on this ground. And then Fitzroy were one of 8 clubs that broke away and formed the VFL in 1897, and a further 612 games were played on this ground. VFL games were played on this ground. Biggest crowd, can you imagine 36,000 fans cramming into this ground in 1935. Fitzroy played Collingwood. In that last game that was ever played here on August the 20th, 1966, the Lions, who finished on the bottom of the ladder in 1966, were absolutely pumped by St Kilda, who ended up winning their one and only premiership in the VFL to the tune of, wait for it, 84 points. So this grandstand here was built in 1888, so that's 4 years after Fitzroy Football Club started playing their games here. Obviously the cricket club was already here. And then in 1905, around about probably 20 metres to the left of this grandstand, an identical grandstand to this one was built. And that remained there right up until 1977 before it was burnt down. Now this one here is obviously heritage listed. I'm led to believe that it is the second oldest sporting pavilion in, I think it's Australia, definitely Victoria. And they safeguard it because it's obviously heritage listed. It's sectioned and cordoned off at the moment, so there's no access to it. But yeah, it's been here since 1888. Okay, just to give you a bit of an indication of what it would have looked like back in 1888 and then through to 1905 when the second grandstand was built. This would have been the entrance for predominantly Fitzroy supporters and members, home members, etc. So they would have come through the Edinburgh Gardens here, where the ground is situated. They would have come through this section here. You've got the 1888 grandstand there on the left. Would have got their memberships snipped or whatever they did back in the day, paid their money, and come through this little section here. Now on the right here would have been an identical grandstand in this forward pocket to the grandstand which is on the left, and this one was built in 1905, and it remained even once the ground was closed for top tier football in 1966. It remained until 1977, until it was tragically burnt down. Okay, I got this bit of a plaque here, I'll just read it out. This 1988 grandstand is named in honour of the Fitzroy Football Club, designed by architect Nathaniel Billing. Its building was founded by cricket and football club Gate Takings. Formed on the 26th of September 1883 with John McMahon, Mayor of the City of Fitzroy, as its first president. The Fitzroy Football Club was part of the Victorian Football Association between 1884 and 1896, and a foundation member of the Victorian Football League in 1897. The last Fitzroy Football League game was played here on 20th of August 1966, but the club continued in the Victorian Football League, playing its home games at Carlton. So we're there at Carlton, guys, for 3 years at Princes Park. Then they went to the Junction Oval from 1970 through to 1984, Then they went to Victoria Park for a couple of years. Then they went back to Princes Park, and then they finished their last years at the Whitten Oval. And we all know the story. In 1996, the Fitzroy Lions and the Brisbane Bears merged to form the Brisbane Lions in the Australian Football League. The Fitzroy Football Club continues to operate in Victoria, sponsoring formation of Fitzroy Junior Football Club in 1993 and the Fitzroy Reds Football Club in 1988. To try and find anything original at this ground other than the grandstand and a couple of entrances at either end of the ground, it's all been sort of landscaped, but I've got a feeling this guttering or drainage system here at Brunswick Street Oval would be quite old. Yeah, I don't think this is sort of drainage that's been put in over the last 50 odd years. What I'm going to do, guys, is line up some old photos which I've found with the what it looks like today, and do a little bit of a then v now, and just give you a bit of a, I don't know, paint a bit of a picture of what it would have been kind of like to be here, I suppose, in the 1930s, 1940s, when this ground was absolutely roaring with Fitzroy and opposition supporters going off their nuts. So yeah, hope you enjoy this next section. I haven't done this necessarily before, so I'll have a go at it. Okay, this is a picture of Hayden Button, and in this exact position you can see over the back the old gasometers, which are no longer there, about 500 metres out the back of Brunswick Street Oval. They're now long gone, but just to the right of Hayden Button you can see two houses which are now obscured by the trees. I'm going to just take a little bit of a walk down that street and show you those two houses which are pictured. There's another photo of the great three-time Brownlow medalist Hayden Button. Looks like a promotional shot. Right in this exact position, I'm going to try and line it up, and once again the trees are obscuring that really unique looking terrace. I'm going to just take a walk over and see if we can see it. I'm going to share some absolutely brilliant aerial shots from 1925 at the Brunswick Street Oval. I've just highlighted there at the back of the ground, this was an old railway track which serviced the gas station, used to transport coal down to the gas station. Obviously no longer here, but what's also interesting, if you have a really good look of that picture, you can actually see a footbridge, pedestrian footbridge that goes over the railway line into the football ground. So there must have been an entrance to the back of the ground at this end. As I sit down by the fence here at Brunswick Street Oval and I share another aerial shot from 1925 of this magnificent ground, and where I'm actually sitting, which would have been in front of the grandstand that was built in 1905 and burnt down in 1977. I hope you have enjoyed this video. It's been a pleasure to come down here and try to the best of my ability to step back in time. It's just hard to imagine that was 747 games of top tier football was played at this ground between 1883 and 1966. When you weren't privileged to come here, because I wasn't born for a start, and what it looks like today, I mean, it's still great it's here today. Like, it still looks brilliant. There's plenty of community activity going on, kids playing cricket, people going for runs and walks. But just imagine what this was like in the halcyon days. Anyway, take care. Look forward to bringing you another video shortly on My Blue Heaven.